What's going on? It's Austin Gray, host of the Owner Operator Podcast. Welcome back to the show. In this episode, I have Mike Flaugher joining us. Mike is a friend and fellow excavation contractor. He worked as a foreman for a local company for 14 years, doing underground grading, excavation, all that good stuff. And then he decided to go off on his own. And so I hope you guys stick around for the whole episode to hear his story. He shares some creative marketing techniques for owner operators early on, one of which is he puts signage or branding on the side of his equipment and his trucks, which that's nothing new, but he makes it a point to drive a different route home every single night so that people can see his trucks, and he's picked up jobs that way. Sometimes, guys, it's the simple things that matter whenever you're starting these local service businesses. So stick around for the whole episode. If you are enjoying the show, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. Look, I talk about this all the time, but getting 5-star reviews in a service business on your Google My Business account is one of the most important things. Podcast is no different. It helps us out, helps us get the word out about starting local small businesses to more people if you leave a review. And I'm on a mission to help people start a local service business. Why? Because we have so many people trying to start the next tech or e-commerce company, and not enough people out there getting their hands dirty, delivering a needed service to your local community. And so therefore, I want to make local entrepreneurship more accessible to people. We've documented everything that we have done when building Bear Claw from zero. We're well on our way to 7 figures here. And we've put that in a school platform. It's called Owner Ops. Think of it like as the operations playbook for a small business owner. So check Owner Ops out if you do want to start your own business, because like I said, we've documented the whole process. We've put video trainings as to everything that you need to do, from starting your LLC, setting up a business bank account, setting up QuickBooks, all that boring stuff, to how to go get your first customers, and then how to make your first hires, and then what software we use for invoicing, for quoting, for CRM, for customer relationship management. We go through all that stuff. So check out Owner Ops if you are interested in starting your own small business. My mission with this podcast is to make this the last podcast you have to listen to before you go start your own small business. Okay. So many people have been reaching out lately, like, how do I start? How do I start? How do I start? And I'm like, well, I had to document that. So that's why I put it into Owner Ops. But the point is, I think there's so much content out there that's just putting you on this content flywheel. You're listening to podcasts all the time. You're watching YouTube videos. You're watching TikTok. You're watching Instagram, all that stuff. I hope I'm the last account you come across before you take action. All right. So go follow us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. We are at the Owner Op. We're talking about how to build a small business from the ground up. Okay. Once again, the most important thing, you can consume all this content, but if you don't take action, you're not going to start a business. I'm encouraging you to take action. If you want to start a business, the best time was yesterday. Next best time is right now. And the next best time is literally this weekend. If you have a job right now and you still want to start your small business, start it this weekend. Go out and do it. Go back and listen to the first 1 through 8 episodes. Go join Owner Ops. It's literally $49 a month. At some point, we're going to be charging somewhere between $5 and $10K for it, because it's simply worth that once we get done recording all the content. But for right now, you can still get it for $49 a month as of, what is today? May 30th, 2024. Mark my words, it will be going up, because if you want to go buy a franchise, it's going to be $50,000. Okay. We're going to cut that price way down, and we're going to give you everything that you need to do. It doesn't matter if you're starting a power washing business, a tree service business, a land clearing business, an excavation business, a plumbing business. It doesn't matter. They're all the same from a mindset perspective and from a strategy perspective. Look, you still need to go get in front of customers. You need to find the work. You need to sell the jobs. You need to deliver great service to your customers. And then you need to get 5-star reviews. And then you need to have a marketing engine that's working for you in the background, right? We're going to show you how to do all of that stuff inside Owner Ops. I'm going to stop rambling here. Let's get to the episode. Thanks again for watching. Don't forget, work hard, do your best, never settle for less. Let's rock and roll, baby. Real quick, wanted to share with you 2 agency partners who have helped me grow Bear Claw Land Services. Striker Digital manages all of our SEO services, and they've got us to #1 on Google for specific search terms within our local service business. Cedar Digital Consulting manages all of our social media and YouTube, and they make it very simple for owner operators like myself. All I have to do is go take photos and videos in the field, upload those on my phone to a shared iCloud album very quickly, and they handle everything else from there. They edit and they publish. I don't have to worry about it. I can focus on growing my business. So if you're looking for SEO services, check out Stryker Digital. That's Stryker, Stryker -digital.com. And for social media, check out Cedar Digital Consulting. That's CEDAR digitalconsulting.com. Thanks for being on.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah. So we were just talking, getting started here. So you started, how many years were you with the company that you were just telling me about, doing all the site work, underground pipe, road work?
I was there for 14 years. So I started in 2009. I was actually 16 years old. Started the first year just around the shop, cleaning the yard, all that stuff. And that was actually prior to you having to be legally 18 to go out in the field. So when I was 17, I went, what would I have been? The first half of the year, I was still at this is my second year. I was still in the yard, and then as soon as I turned 17, then I got put out in the field. And then I worked up until, shoot, I think I was 24. I became a foreman. So the last 6 years I was there, I was a foreman. And we we did everything from, pipe work, underground storm, sewer lift stations, water main, sewer, road building, and I mean, just everything, asphalt paving, their concrete supplier. They had 17 locations, uh, three of them being had dirt crews. The rest of them were mostly just trucking and concrete and some other odds and ends, but three divisions, they had dirt crews in them. Total like 650 employees. Pretty wild. I mean, I know the one time they did snow plowing and everything too. The one time at their highest point, I think they had 28 loaders that had snow pushers on them for wintertime, just small loaders that were all site loaders. And then some of the places had like 980 cats and stuff without a pusher, just using the bucket for snow plowing and stuff too. It's just wild. I mean, kind of funny. I mean, it was mom and pop type of place when it started. I actually worked for the owner of that business for his farm before I went and worked there. That's how I got in there. And he started out with, you know, entrepreneur dream. I mean, probably a lot of the reason what give me kind of the drive that I ended up with. I mean, literally had nothing, worked a bunch of random jobs. Everything else was trying to build something better for himself, and it was kind of in an era of time where there wasn't a lot of jobs, and he was going to go make his own job, and actually got a loan from a lady at his church, and she just told him, he kind of pitched his idea to her, and she's like, she was widowed, had no kids, and she's like, I've always thought highly of you. I got faith you'll do good stuff with it. Gave him the money, and he actually started a restaurant, and then took the restaurant, went from there, sold that after a few years, wasn't really his dream, and found this guy that was retiring, selling his business, and bought his excavating business, which started with a dragline crane and a dozer. And he had a couple of little like 1-ton pickup, 3-yard dump truck deals. And that was in the late 70s. And literally took it from there to, and my dad works for the company. He started in 94 as employee number 203. And I started in 2009 as employee 1386. So they kept man numbers going. If people quit, that number stayed with them just to keep seniority reasons. They had a couple years they started recycling numbers, and people started getting huffy puffy and oh, my man number's lower than yours and all that garbage. So they ended up cycling them back out. Number leaves with the people, but man, last time I knew they were in the might have been in the 4,000 range. It's been a couple years since I've been there, but I know as I was leaving, they were in the mid 3,000s of how many people have come cycled through there over the years. It's pretty crazy how many people have come and gone through that place. But yeah, just to a point of, I mean, while that I think they had that last year I was there, I think there was 87 gravel trains that hit the road every day across the state, and started from a two-man operation with a drag line, a dozer, and two one-ton pickups.
That's crazy. What's the name
Yeah,
of that company?
it's Elmer's Crane and Dozer is what it is. Everything they kind of have just like a working name that they use that's called Team Elmers. So they're on social media and stuff everywhere. I think at one point BuildWit actually went to one of their sites. I know there was uh some video and stuff of that. They were doing like some training stuff with it, and pretty pretty neat. Yeah, they're crazy. I mean, just in the time I was there, it went from, you pretty much knew everything, everybody, what was going on. It was big, but it was still small enough to where you still had that small feel. And then all of a sudden, I mean, it was crazy how quick it turned. I mean, you got to a point where you'd show up to one of the other locations, because I actually originally came from their original location in Traverse City, Michigan, and they purchased out an excavating company where I live now, and I moved over here and worked with them when they did that in 2011, 2012. And it didn't take but a few years after that, and you go back over, and it's like, who are all these people? It's just wild how big and how quick it started to grow. I mean, they're to the point where they're just doing massive jobs. I mean, there was some of them where, I mean, you're moving 600, 700,000 yards of dirt just to get a site leveled out so you could start putting in pipe and everything like that. Pretty neat.
It's, it's incredible. And so you there as a foreman for, remind me, the last 6 years before you decided to jump off and start your own company?
Yeah, correct. So I don't know, kind of got to the point where we were getting into, I don't know, it just really wasn't, was starting to get a little bit stagnant, I guess, is I think was the final driver of it. Um, I would test a lot of that to making it to where I did young at like 24 years old as a foreman. And then, going through all these challenges and everything that we did as a foreman, and then kind of getting to a point where you get comfortable with it. Before that, everything's a new challenge, even though you've done it before, worked on all the jobs before. It's now it's your baby. So you're sitting there, worried if something's going to be wrong, or not doing it efficiently, fast enough, whatever, and trying to keep all your guys happy and stuff. So everything was always a challenge. And then it got to a point where one day it was like, I think it was the first time I did a road job. It was something I'd wanted to do. I loved running grader. Did a lot of site work grading, and our parking lots for building like Walmart or something, a Home Depot, something like that, and grade out these parking lots and doing all this stuff. And it was just something I really loved doing, and I wanted to get on a road job. And then I finally got my first road job, and we went through, and I was like beating myself up, losing sleep at night, waiting. You got to go in, get all your cross culverts and stuff put in, and get all your ditches shaped and get everything ready. And then the last thing you do is grade it and pave it. And just worrying myself to death that wasn't going to be good. I mean, pretty critical. You grade it out and they come pave it and there's a bump in the road. Well, everybody knows you're that guy that put the bump in the road. So, and then we get done with it and get it paved and everything else, and everybody goes through. A lot of guys from the company, like my project manager and stuff, goes through and they're like, wow, this is great. You did a great job. And I went and I personally sat down with the paving foreman, the company we had worked with. I mean, my whole life, he's the only guy I remember ever being the paving foreman. So had a pretty good respect for him and looked up to him a lot. Those guys were awesome to work with. And I was like, hey, shoot me straight, what'd you think? And he's like, oh, it was whatever, this and that, and kind of just blew it off. And I'm like, no, I'm serious. I was like, that was my first time doing it. He's like, no, it wasn't. He's like, I've seen you in the grader all the time. I was like, yeah, in parking lots and stuff. I was like, I've never graded a road. So in the parking lots and everything, we'd usually have GPS or total station and stuff. So I'd go through and set all my control points and set up like a total station and hook it up to the grader, and then you have a grading profile on it. So it's giving you grade and everything else. And when you do the road, it's all by hand, seat of the pants, what it feels like, and you're just doing it yourself. And so I was like, no, seriously, what'd you think? He's like, that's your first one? I was like, yeah. He's like, yeah. He's like, obviously there's guys out there better. He's like, but if that's your first one, he's like, you're you're right there. And then I was like, I literally went home that night and I was like, I was worrying this much about all this stuff, and this was something I'd wanted to accomplish for so long. And I think I was almost hoping that it wasn't going to be that good to give you something to work towards. And I kind of just, it hit me. It's like that was the one thing I've been waiting on for years to do. And it didn't give me the satisfaction I guess I was looking for. And it's like, I got to find a new challenge. Like I'm starting to feel like I'm getting to that point where I'm not seeing the next step in things, and the next challenge. And I was looking at, there was four other foremen in my division that were going to be my competition. They were nowhere near, you know, 10 years probably before the next one would retire or move on to something else. And it's like, I really looking at sitting in the same spot that I'm in for quite a while, which is probably going to hurt me, I guess, was my thought. I never like that. I never want to sit, as the next challenge. I want to always be learning, trying to do something new. I don't like doing the same thing over and over. I would probably get fired if I had a factory job or something because I would rip my hair out. And I don't know. I just like woke up and I was like, I got to do this. Like I've always kind of wanted to, but it's like to that age now where you're old enough that you're not a child anymore, so you can be taken serious. And I'm, still young enough that we got some energy and some momentum here to go try to do something. So we bought a dump trailer. I mean, sat down with the wife, had some conversations, and already had a 3/4 ton diesel pickup. And it's like, let's go get a dump trailer. I had a tractor. It's like we can use that for a little bit of stuff. We'll, rent an excavator and do whatever we have to do. But I got the tractor and stuff and back blade for cleaning up driveways when you're done and just doing little tedious work, and we'll rent the rest and see what happens. And so we started building some business cards and kind of pitching it out to people, letting them know that we were going to be doing some residential stuff. And I continued on that last year, 2022, with my job, working 70, 80 hours a week, and then on the weekends doing my thing on the side and putting in another 25, 30 hours, and literally made it to October 1st of 22 was my last day with Elmer's. Yeah, I think I just got to a point where I had enough workload to make it through. I wasn't going to get done. It wasn't like it was enough workload to make it till spring, which is crazy. And then to quit your job on in October in a seasonal position, but I had enough stuff to get through the rest of October. in November that I wasn't going to get done if I was still at my job. And I guess just was a rip the band-aid off type of moment. It's like I can't sustain working 90 hours a week, 100 hours a week, you know, for a whole another year. Like the wife was, concerned, 3 kids at home, my income was the only income. What are you going to do, if this doesn't work? And it's like, you can always go get another job, but in my opinion, if you make a plan B, you're setting up plan A to fail. So throw all plans out, put all your effort into one, and you know, you don't fail. You make it work, especially when you got 3 kids at home to feed and put clothes on. It puts quite a drive behind you, and I think that was a lot of, if you make it too easy on yourself, it sets you up for failure. And I mean, I backed myself right into a corner, and then cut the tether and said, let's go. And I think a lot of that put you to, making something happen, because you just got to go out and be making phone calls and pushing every envelope that you can and trying to make something work. And fortunately enough, so far it's worked, and can't complain.
Man, I love that. I resonate with you so much there. Like I was just talking to somebody the other day about that. It's like some people just give themselves the plan B and they have the plan C. And it's like if you're thinking about the plan B and the plan C, consistent, how are you going to do the plan A? So I just love that mindset of, and you said something that resonates big time with me as well. Like I love backing myself into that corner, because in that corner, like you are challenged in so many different ways. If you burn all the other bridges to get to that corner, and you have to like creatively come up with a way to get out of that corner.
Right.
And I see, I've talked to other people who it seems like there's a small amount of people though who have that mindset, and maybe it's just the way people like you and I are wired, and maybe like that's what we need to sort of propel through those early days. But I mean, that's exactly what I did as well. Um, just said, hey, we're going with this, right? And the creativity that comes out of that to go find that work, it really starts pushing the business in the right direction early on if you don't have that backup plan. So, um, talk to me about how you got, so you had work for October, November. Like, what are some ways that you figured out how to make it work at that point?
So we had, well, it's probably this way in everywhere. Um, since COVID, the just house building and stuff went nuts. So all your builders that normally in their slow time of the year, winter time, would go do remodel work and stuff. Um, they've been just slammed. They've been, most of our builders are booked out 2, 3 years and whatever. So had a handful of people that I knew. They're like, I've always done all my own work and stuff in my house, and they're like, hey, what are you going to do this winter? And I'm like, yeah, don't know yet. We're working on that. I got to get through this, and then we're going to hopefully keep pushing and doing stuff. And a lot of, the winter was planned on getting advertising and kind of getting an actual business fully set up, because we were just kind of going out on a wing. And they're like, hey, if you're interested, do some remodel work and stuff in my house, which I'm a license in Michigan. You have to have, uh, you can do it kind of a couple ways. There is like a sub set of the builder's license that's called a maintenance and alteration license. And then you pick what part of that falls under construction. So you can pick excavating, or you can do whatever. Well, I'm looking through the list, and there's excavating, there's concrete, there's basement waterproofing, roofing, all this stuff. And it's like, started doing some math. It's like, if you pick 2 categories and test them, and then by the time you take the test and pay for it, you're basically at the same as doing the builder's license. So let's just get a full builder's license. So it's like, I can do anything. It's like, now all my avenues are opened up. If you're slow, I guess we have to go do something else, to make it work. So had a builder's license, had a few people reach out to me. So that first winter we ended up um, doing some remodel work, put some bathrooms and stuff together and doing tile work and stuff and built some custom showers and did some kitchen backsplashes and stuff like that. And fortunately enough, a few of them led into, hey, I know what you really do is the excavating stuff. I got some things in the spring. Hey, let's check them out. Hit into there. Had a couple of jobs that from the fall before that turned into, once I got there, they wanted some bigger stuff, which we weren't going to get done in that fall. So turned into springtime and really had nothing last spring. I mean, had enough to know that, we could get out and get moving and basically hoping for the phone to ring, but we stayed busy enough with odds and ends through the winter time to, maintain and got to spring and frost laws come off and everything was good to go and started hitting a few jobs and it stayed steady enough to stay working and moving and just really kept my head down and just kept doing what you can. And we got to June. I mean, stayed steady enough till June and then got approached for a commercial contract for doing a bunch of concrete work, which I didn't do at that time. Um, I wanted all the dirt work portion of it. There was nothing there. Some of it was remove and replace. A lot of it was cut out, regrade, fill in with sand, get everything graded out and ready for concrete. Tried like heck to find a concrete contractor to work with me, but nobody was carrying the insurance that was required to work with these guys. Nor were the ones that I were finding that were insured. A lot of them didn't have a license, and they needed proof of license and insurance and workman's comp and all that good stuff, like everybody else. And all these guys are like, "Well, no, I don't have guys. I don't have workman's comp. It's just me." It's like, well, you can't do this by yourself. It's like I can't do this by myself. That's why I'm trying to hire it out. So couldn't find anybody. And honestly, what the heck did it ended up being? It was like 70 some $1,000s worth of work, gross. And it's like, I'm not walking away from this. It's like, I'll figure it out. There was one that was a small one. It was like a 10 by 12 pad with 25 foot of 4 foot wide sidewalk going to it. And it's like small enough, whatever. So hired a guy and really I test a lot of that to where I am now just because I got put in a position where it's like I'm not walking away from this. I need somebody to help me do it. And the worst case scenario is I got to find more work to keep this guy going if he wants to go after this. We kind of discussed it. He's like, "Yeah, that's fine." He's like, "If that's all it is, it's all it is." He's like, "Helps me out for now and we'll go from there." And we did the first one and wasn't that bad. Nervous, not knowing what you're doing with concrete because the only thing you know is it gets hard and it gets hard quick, especially in the summer. And we got after. I mean, I've been around it enough over the years with all the concrete contractors we had on our jobs for doing curb and sidewalk and everything. So it wasn't like I had no idea what was going on, but I'd never finished it myself other than a couple little random sidewalks at my house type of deal. And it went well. They liked it and that was the only one they turned out to us. They had all this other one, but I think they were just testing us. And after that, they're like, "Okay, hand me a stack of papers, give us numbers for all this stuff, and let's go." So gave them numbers. They shot it into corporate, got it approved, and their fiscal year ran to September 30th. By the time this all got approved, it was like almost August by the time we got in and got everything rolling. So we had like 45 days total. I mean, probably like 25 working days by the time you take out some rain days and weekends to get 8 projects done. And it's like, holy cow. So I ended up hiring another guy and started doing those. And honestly, that got us, they were kind of spread out over 4 counties. and it got us moving in enough areas that I have stickers on everything from headlight to tail light on my trucks and stuff. I mean, that was probably my biggest investment for advertising because it goes everywhere you go. So I put a lot of it towards them jobs. I mean, we got moving, got going around. Next thing you know, the phone's ringing more. Picked up a couple other commercial concrete jobs, doing a few things, and we do a bunch of. I'm a certified septic installer for 4 counties, my surrounding 4 counties. So ended up just being out and about enough. We got into septic systems and just everything really. I mean, redoing driveways, putting in new driveways, culverts. I mean, you name it. We started hitting a bunch of stuff and ended up turning into quite a substantial year. I mean, we went to the point of I think October of this past year was our biggest month. I did more revenue in October than I did from March through June combined. I mean, it was just wild. It was like once it hit, it all went nuts. I mean, August, September, October, November was just wild. It pretty much made up my year. And we just caught some traction, and now it's proven to it got us out and about enough that it really got us more established. I mean, I was advertising in newspapers and Facebook and anywhere we could, but nobody really knows who you are. So, and that's kind of that thing. I feel like until somebody can kind of put a face to it, and it doesn't have to be your face, it's just seeing you around, seeing your stuff. They feel like, okay, now I know you. I've seen you over here and over there. I've passed you 3, 4 times. Now I see your ad in the newspaper. They stop just glancing over it. And then they're like, well, I do have something. Let's make a phone call type of deal. And it's crazy. I mean, it took off.
That's
And
awesome,
we
man.
got we got to winter time and we had the mildest winter I've ever seen in my life. We had like 3 snowfalls that actually accumulated to something. Uh Shoot. It was 56 degrees here on Christmas Day. That's nuts. Me and my dad, my brother-in-law usually go out ice fishing every Christmas after, midday after presents and all that stuff. My dad lives on a lake, so we usually go out and go ice fishing. And it was wide open water and sun shining, and the kids were outside in their t-shirts yelling that it was hot, running in circles, and my dad was crying. He loves winter, and I'm like, this is awesome. He's like, yeah, whatever. He's like, it might be for you, but I hate it. And I was putting in a new driveway. We took the week of Christmas and New Year's off, and we went out and put in a new driveway January 4th. I mean, that never happens. I mean, that's an emergency case. If somebody's building a house or something, you just go scrub one in and tell them that, we're gonna have to come back in the spring and make it right. But this gets you access. And yeah, we were putting in driveways in January. I was building retaining walls in February, which is nuts. And then this whole month of March has been like nothing. I mean, we got a little bit of kind of a rain snow mix over a couple days, but it's been mostly above freezing and a lot of 50-degree days and stuff. Shoot, the other day was like 70.
Yeah, it's been
So
the same
yeah,
here. It's been a weird winter here as well. Um, yeah, not great for everybody pushing snow, that's for sure. But
no, I
good if
I
you're
opted out of
still
it
doing.
this year,
I did too.
which
What was your decision? Like, how did you make that decision? Not
we've
snow.
just, man, probably even longer, but just consistently the last 5 years, there hasn't been enough, in my opinion, to make a business out of it. Um, But then you're always beating yourself up as a business owner. So we had one of our good snows was right after Christmas. Probably it was right after we finished up that driveway in January. It was probably the second week of January. We got like 22 inches, and we haven't had a snowfall like that in probably 4 years. And I think that one was in like April. It's just a freak spring snowstorm. I was like, man, yeah, a little late, but I put it off and put it off. It's like we just haven't been getting snow, and it's like I'm not going to do it. Not worth, spending the money in, buying plows and everything else and trying to get geared up for it and then not have something turn up of it. And then we got 22 inches of snow, and I spent the 3 weeks until it melted kicking myself, going, "You're an idiot." There was all this snow. There was a few other little storms in between there where once you already have snow on the ground, that couple inches is another plow. And then just the random, warm up and refreeze, you would have been getting into just scraping stuff back and doing some salting. And it's like, you're an idiot. You know, you should have been doing it, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden, we hit 2 weeks straight of 50 degrees, 40 and 50 degrees in the end of January, and everything was gone again. And it's like, all right, maybe you did make the right move. And then it snowed again. And and it still wasn't great. You really probably wouldn't have made any money this winter. You might have broke even on it, but I kind of fully made the decision. Well, I sent some bids out the other day for some commercial plowing that they just let out for next year. So if I get them, I guess I have to do it now. So I pretty much just made up my mind that I'm so sick of the back and forth and beating myself up and wasting the brain space of should have did it, shouldn't have done it, that it'd probably just save more time and hassle to just go ahead and do it and take on just a small amount. If I can, if you can stay, at least keep my guys moving and stuff, is probably the biggest thing I'm looking at. If I can pick up enough snow plowing mixed with, if you do have decent weather, you can get out and still do some jobs like we did and just try to basically throw together a handful of everything to conglomerate to a full schedule, then it keeps everybody moving and it keeps the money moving in at least, and at least keeps things rolling. And I think staying in the practice of business instead of, going straight on, okay, guys, we're going to take a month and do maintenance and everything else. Well, you just kind of get out of the swing of things and you're not moving. And then you kind of have that restart period where it's harder to kind of get moving in the spring and get everything back well oiled and working the way you want it to.
Yeah, I hear you on that. Um, it's funny because like I feel like you and I are thinking through a lot of the very similar things. I think we have a little more snow than you guys have had, so it's an easier decision for me for next year. Just because like my whole goal this year was similar to you. Like we had a really good fall, and my goal was to really like assess the snowfall year this year. Um, I
Right.
had like 2 years where I told you we had our first kid. So like I just built my house and started the business as well. Sounds like it's just like, similar to you. You got 4 kids and you're starting the business. You were working 100 hours a week. It's like at a certain point, I had to make the decision that, all right, I'm going to be in this business thing for a good while here. I'm going to make a good run in my 30s and off a good year. It's like, you know what? I said no to snow plowing because I'm like, I could definitely use some more family time right now and
Yeah.
like take advantage of that. And the podcast is fun. Like that's been a project we've worked on. We've worked on a lot of the back end stuff, on a lot of marketing. But at a certain point, it's something you said there. It's like I have gone back and forth in my head. Should I do it? Should I not? And I think like at a certain point, you just make the decision. Say, you know what? Let's stop thinking about it. Let's just go do it. Because I think like sitting around is probably the worst thing for guys like us.
Yeah, yeah, and that's kind of where my brain's gone to. And then my wife just yelled at me this year. She's like, "I'm not listening to it anymore." She's like, "You are 100% against it, and then you're crying every time it snows that we should have done it." And it's like I've always been against it because it's like it's just which I guess a lot of guys probably say it about the excavating or even like the mulching and stuff like you do. The mulchers are super, maintenance intensive and and high costs that come with it and everything else. And it's like there's probably guys looking at us going, "Look at these idiots. They're just running to go break it down and try to fix it." And that's the way I look at it with snow plowing. And then you kind of look at what you actually do, but it's just what you're comfortable with. So you're like, "Oh no, it's no big deal. You just grab, this and you fix it and you go and you're back at it." Well, there's probably guys, there's a lot of landscaping guys that do snow plowing. They're probably going, "Look at these morons with these big machines that cost 3 times more than ours that are just running it and breaking down and spending all that money." And it's like, it's all the same. I mean, as long as, and it really doesn't matter what business you're in, everything has costs. As long as you can go in and try to mitigate it and control it and do what you can, making sure you have the right guys that aren't just 100-mile-an-hour banging snowbanks with it and stuff. It's like we'll figure it out and we'll make it work. And if it absolutely doesn't work, then we'll drop it.
That's right. Something you said earlier, I wanted to come back to, and you and I in our first conversation, you were asking me a lot about the marketing, but um,
Yeah.
I think it's important is that like you picked something, you said, "Hey, I'm going to go put stickers on everything because those vehicles go with me everywhere." And I'm in 4 counties of doing work, and you went and put decals. You invested the money in stickers on your trucks. Do you put it on your equipment as well?
Yeah, I gotta get better with the equipment. A lot of the stuff where we're at, the equipment's hiding. We're a little more rural, so not always sitting out wide open. So I went to the dump trucks and the pickups first. I have smaller stickers on my equipment this year. The biggest thing is I'm ripping the stickers off the booms and stuff, and in place of where the name brand was, is getting full length down the boom of the excavator, the name and phone number, and on the back. So when it's sitting on a trailer, somebody's staring at the phone number on the back of it. And yeah, we're gonna get after the equipment, but I didn't do a lot of it with the equipment last year either because I had a fleet that I wasn't gonna keep. I mean, we got into some starter stuff. I had a pretty old beat up skid steer to start with. It was just a good deal, but I knew it wasn't going to last long. I think it made it 3 months. I traded in on what I have now, which I'll keep. Fairly new machine. It was like 2 years old, had 900 hours on it. So I got a few years of use out of that one before it's ready to be replaced. So that one will get all stickered this year. And my excavator I bought was kind of, I wasn't sure because I just bought a 4-ton mini and wanted to get bigger. So I had this big hope and dream of with a machine like your size, like a 5, 6 ton machine that was kind of middle ground. And the more I get into it, the more I realize it's just too big for small jobs and too small for big jobs. So you're just kind of, you're trying to Swiss Army knife it, but really you're just hindering yourself in both directions. So I think we're going to end up keeping the normal mini, and then we're just going to try to get into like a 8-ton size machine this year and have the two of them. So then I'll get stickered. But yeah, it was a huge investment. I mean, the one truck, I went pretty extravagant on the one. The other one was a little bit cheaper because I took the bed off and put a flatbed on and toolboxes and everything on it, so we could load up all the tools and everything in that one. The other truck I use more, it's mine, is for moving equipment and stuff. The other one's for my guys. It's got a regular box side on it and it's a dually. So with having the fender flares and stuff on it, with being the dually, it's like, okay, we can do some cool stuff here with some color transitions and stuff. So everything we have is just black, white, and gray. So like my dump trucks, the cabs are gray, the boxes are black, white stickers. My truck is white with uh I actually have transition stickers that go from gray to black, and did some pretty cool stuff. And then like the phone number and stuff is in white reflective over top of the black transition stickers. So when headlights hit it or whatever, it reflects just like a mailbox, so you can see it from a quarter mile away. And that one was like almost $900, and I was like, ooh man, I was like, holy cow, because I mean, I got 2 foot tall letters on the doors that go from the front fender all the way to the back fender, and I was kind of cringing on that one because the first one we only had to do the cab because I had the flatbed on it, so that was like $500, and I was like, all right, that's not bad. And didn't see a lot out of that one, and then I went back to the guy that does all my stuff, and I was like, okay, this one being white, let's get some tint on the windows, let's get the color transitions with the gray to black. Let's really make this thing pop. I was like, I'm gonna give you, this is kind of the concept of what I want. I'm giving you full transparency. I've seen your work. I know what you can do. Have fun with it. Send me a picture before you hit print at least, because he's got a full mock-up on his computer so he can pull up what your vehicle is and it can literally give you a digital display, kind of real life of what it's going to look like. I'm at work like 4 or 5 hours later. He sends me a picture and I'm like, do it. Hit the button. Let's go. Didn't even ask how much it was. And I was just all day. I'm like, this is going to cost so much. And we get done. He calls me and I go back to pick it up. He's like, oh, and I added it across the tailgate. And I was like, oh, I never thought about that. But I'm like, now I'm seeing dollar signs. I'm like, oh, man, because he's got it all the way across the tailgate with the name and the reflective with the phone number and stuff. And I was at this point, I'm thinking like $1,200. I'm like, wife's gonna kill me. I just spent a pile of money on this, and I just bought the truck like 2 weeks before that. And I'm like, well, what is it? And he's like 800. I'm like, well, that sucks, but it's better than what I thought.
Yeah, for sure.
And
That's
man, it took
awesome.
no time. It took no time. I don't think it was a week. So once we paired two trucks and then the dump trucks and stuff, and next thing you know, we're running. I got people stopping me and they're like, man, you guys are everywhere. And it's like, there's only two of us, and the one guy's part time, sometimes three of us. And they're like, you guys are all over the place. And I'm like, yeah, we are. And I'm like, no, we just make it look like we are. We just got crap everywhere, at least get our name on it. So, and I'm a firm believer in not go way out of your way. I was talking to Danny about this on the video the other day, and I would go a different way home every night. I mean, not like way out of the way, but take it if there's a 3 blocks away, take a different road, 5 miles out of the way, drive down a different road.
I
You have a
love that.
rolling billboard. Yeah, it's like, man, you have a rolling billboard and a huge investment in this thing. Go somewhere else. I mean, because everybody else talking to, they're like, "Oh yeah, I seen your ad in the paper quite a few times or whatever," and then I seen you in town, and then I called you, and it's like I was starting to figure out that people gotta see you before they start feeling comfortable. If they never see you, but they're seeing an ad, they're like, "Who is it? Are they even from here? Are they out of?" Everybody wants to do local if they can. There's a lot of people that don't care if you come from 3 states away. They just want the cheapest price. But there's a lot of people that just care about, spending local. And then I caught a huge traction on that. It's like, okay, we gotta be, seen to be matching the face to the name type of deal. And that's when I mean, we'd literally leave a job if we had a couple vehicles on it. It's like, I'm gonna go this way, you go that way, and we'll meet back at the barn, and we'd do that. And then it was literally everybody's like, you guys are everywhere. You're going down here and there. And it's like, yeah, because we strategically were driving separate ways home from the jobs and stuff. In the mornings we'd all go together. So, you're all there and on time and whatever. But at the end of the day, it's like, you go that way, I'll go this way and see what happens. And I don't know, getting creative. It's like I can afford the extra $10 in gas, but I can't, go call up and get a billboard. I mean, we looked at that, and by the time you make a sign and sign the contract for the term agreement and stuff, is like $7,800 for 2 years, and it's like I'm sure to pay off, but I don't have that up front right now, starting out. So we're gonna drive in circles so people think that we're everywhere.
I love that. I love the creativity that you brought to this. Um, so there you have it, guys and gals. This is Mike, and correct me if I'm wrong. Mike Flaugher.
Flaugher, yeah.
Flaugher. Mike Flaugher. All right, Mike Flaugher with EMPI LLC stands for Empower
E&M
Property.
Property Improvements.
Okay.
So my wife, it's my wife's initial, my initial, and then property improvements. So that actually was kind of another way of just getting into it. And that's why it's kind of shortened down to the EMPI. Is the whole goal was to get into excavating, but obviously starting out, it's like you just got to make money and you got to make this work. So we started as an excavating and landscaping. So that's where the property improvements kind of kicked in. Is it was more or less geared towards getting people to just go, oh, well, I got this little project. And it's like not what I'm trying to do, but if I can get in there and basically sell yourself, you know, you're getting a lot of little calls, couple $100, $500 type deals, whatever. We'll go out, we'll run and gun, we'll make it go. This isn't what I want to do. We'll slowly transform out of it, but we're gonna go do whatever. And you get there and start looking around. They don't know that that's what you do, because the way I'm portraying it is we just do little stuff. And you're like, hey, I see this or I see that, and they're like, oh, do you do that? And it's like, yeah, I do. Well, give me a price for that. And it was more or less just to try to get busy and then get out there. And the more people you tell, then if they like what you did, they'll tell the next person, their neighbors, like, hey, my septic system failed. Well, my guy that was just here just did, he does that stuff. And it was kind of a crapshoot, but it played out. I mean, it worked. So it's not it's not crazy. I mean, there's a lot of guys that start out in landscaping and then merge into the excavating world. Um, I never wanted to be a landscaper, but I mean, there's certain aspects of it. The retaining walls, do a lot of boulder walls. So the majority of what I do is septic systems, and boulder walls are kind of my forte. I mean, that's what really enjoy doing. Um, we're pretty much full service. We do everything, but I really enjoy the boulder walls just because it's not, standard poured concrete, or your standard landscaping block where everything's cut clean, perfect, stack and go. That's boring to me. I like the end result of them. They look awesome. So I still enjoy doing those, but not as much as you take a natural rock and now you go and dump a couple truckloads of them, and let's pick them all up 14 times, turn them around in 32 circles, and pull it back out because it doesn't look right. And most guys, it drives them nuts, and they're like, get this out of here. I don't want anything to do with it. It hurts my brain to even try to figure these things out, and I like the challenge of it because there's some times where you will get a rock, like third rock in to this 80-foot long wall, and set it, and then get down 5 more rocks, and you're like, nope, looks stupid. So you pull it back apart, pull it out of there, try it again. I've put it back in the wall a dozen times, turned it around, flipped it over, whatever, can't make it. Meaning, like, it's almost there, but you can't make it right, and get all the way down to the end of the job, and it never ends up in the wall, and you load it back in the truck, and you take it home, and you throw it in the spare pile for the next job. And it's just dumb. It's like I literally fought that rock the entire time. And now I'm getting to the point where it's like, okay, if I've tried it twice, it's getting thrown off to the side until I find this spot where you're like, oh man, that is the rock. And it's happened a few times, but 90% of the time, you'll fight that thing all the way through, and you'll end up taking it home with you. And you're like, so I've gotten to the point where we've quit trying to force them in there because I was so adamant. It was, I don't know, it's like it would drive me nuts. It's like, I got to make this thing fit in here. And like, it's a cool looking rock. It's got wild shape to it. It's going in this wall, and you can't make it do it. So yeah, we do a lot of that. So that's kind of where the landscaping part started, because you're not getting a lot of calls for retaining walls as an excavating company. Which the crazy part with the boulder walls is I've the company I worked for before, we did them, so that we did a lot of shoreline restoration and stuff. So like on Great Lakes, Lake Michigan and Lake Huron mostly, you get huge storms and high water times and wash out the shoreline and stuff, and be getting close to eroding out the highway. So we would come in and do all these boulder walls and then like armor stone and stuff in behind them to protect the shoreline. And that's kind of where I found my love for it. Like, I don't know, something about it just intrigues me and really enjoyed doing it. Well, we got into doing a bunch of the boulder walls around some bigger houses and stuff, to the point where we were setting them with, like 330 cats, 30-ton machines with a thumb on them, because we were setting like 7-foot boulders and stuff. I mean, just huge, to the point where you can only fit 3 rocks in a truckload. I mean, and just wild. And I mean, it's funny to think that most people just envision that with landscaping. It's like you can probably count on one hand how many landscapers in this world are setting stones with that big of equipment. Most landscaping companies have, little dingo skid steers and minis and stuff. I mean, there is some out there that have larger equipment doing larger stuff, but I mean, it's like in my mind, we're gonna have the larger equipment and stuff. That's something geared towards what I like doing, and it's really geared toward our business. Within a 10-minute drive of where we're at, you can hit 11 different lakes, and the majority of them are all on super steep slopes, at least on one side of the lake, and that's where we picked up a lot of it. So the landscaping kind of started totally geared towards getting ourselves kind of in that boulder wall world, and then just transferring everything else into the excavating. And it was just more or less to make myself known as I'm the guy that's going to come in and do your boulder walls if you want a boulder wall. And it's worked. We've done 4 of them now in this past year, and pretty extensive sized ones. Pretty cool, especially when you're sitting on the side of a lake doing it, getting all the permitting and stuff for the soil and erosion and everything, and a lot of steps and hoops to jump through. But when it gets down to the end of it, it's intriguing because usually you're dropping down a 30-40 degree slope, sliding with the excavator, trying to carry rocks in and out. And yeah, I remember my first employee, the one we went to, and he's like, looks down and he's like, "You're gonna drive the excavator over there?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "That's not that steep." He's like, "No way." I'm like, "Well, you got to carry the rocks to me with the skid steer. I'm not driving down that." I'm like, "It's not that bad." I was like, "It looks terrible." I said, "We're on tracks." I said, "You're gonna be fine." And by the time we got done with the job, he's like, "That was pretty sweet." He's like, "You'd look at it," and he's like, anybody's normal brain would just go, "There's no way you can get equipment down there. There's no way you can do anything with it because the wall we tore out was a timber wall that somebody hand built because they didn't think you could get anything in there, and it rotted away and failed." And we get done, and he's like, "Yeah, that's just nuts." He's like, "I didn't think you could get stuff down there." He's like, "You're crazy." Plus that one was early in the year, so there was some ice and stuff on the ground, and he's like, "You're gonna slide into the lake." It's like, hopefully there's enough ice on the lake, man. It's like, I doubt it. I said, we'll scratch it up with the teeth and we'll get some dirt going. And it's like, you test it. It's like, obviously we're not gonna be dumb here. It's like, go in, do some testing. If it feels like it's going to be a little bit sketchy, we're going to back out and we'll come in at a different time, or, we'll improvise and we'll make the changes and we'll make it safe. It's like, we're not gonna do anything stupid here. It's like, but I don't know. It's just one of them things where, just with my background too, I mean, I've been in 50-ton excavators, massive, climbing on barges, unloading barges. There's a huge cement plant, Lafarge, right by where we're at, that would bring barges in and unload, and you'd literally throw crane mats for track ramps off the dock onto the side of the boat and climb, literally like angle like this, and just reach in with your stick and grab a bucket full and pull yourself up in. And I mean, 12, 14-foot height change over 10 foot of distance. I mean, you're literally straight up and down and pull yourself up and in and climb up on a pile and be swinging back and forth on a boat for 16 hours straight, unloading a barge and just doing wild stuff. I mean, we got into some pretty cool stuff, and it's helped me tremendously with my business. I mean, just being comfortable with what you're doing. And that's kind of the thing with owning a business too, is you better just be comfortable being uncomfortable, because nothing's going to be easy. And as long as you can go through and mitigate your risk and, make sure you're doing the right steps and everything to be safe, the rest of it's just fun. Once you've done it, you start getting comfortable with it, you look for the new challenge. So
That's 100% truth. It's like you said something very important there. Like be comfortable being uncomfortable. And yeah, I think that's like the underlying core of starting any business. If you're not comfortable being uncomfortable, then probably just keep your W-2 job, because I mean, I
right.
think every single day I wake up, it's like there's a decision to be made, and like sometimes you got to make the decision like right now, and you don't know whether or not it's the right one or not. And that's uncomfortable. It's also uncomfortable to just like not know where the next job is coming from. But to your point earlier, backing yourself into a corner, burning all the bridges, cutting the tethers, and getting to finding a way out, like that recurring theme I've seen with you. And so I am very appreciative that you have spent time with us this morning. We're getting to the hour mark here, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this episode up. Mike, thank you so much for being on the show. Where can
Absolutely.
people find you and your business?
So we're on Google, Instagram, Facebook, all of that. So it's all under EMPI Excavating. So yeah, I try my best. I'm no digital marketer, but we're trying to take cool videos and do stuff and put more together. And with as much as we had going on last year, I mean, starting out wasn't a lot. So I mean, turned into more than I ever expected, but push as much as we can, and then sometimes you get busy, so you forget. But this year we already have a workload comparable to what we did last year in total. So we're getting pretty stacked out already, and frost laws come off this morning. So we are now going to be having a baby next week. Then after that, it's hitting the ground running with my other guy went full time this year, so all three of us full time going like crazy, chickens with their heads cut off. So
I
we're
love
gonna
it,
try to
man.
take as many pictures and videos and try to put as much stuff up and try to keep kicking and making everything going and moving. That's the whole goal. As long as we're moving, we're doing something. So
That's great. Good stuff. Well, thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. If you're listening on YouTube, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please like and follow the podcast to get notifications about when new episodes drop. And just like building a service business, I talk about this a lot. 5 reviews are super important for building a local service business, but they're also really important for podcasts as well. So if you're listening to this right now and you've enjoyed the episodes, would you mind to just take 30 seconds and leave us a quick 5-star review with your thoughts and opinions about the show, telling us what you like about it so far. And finally, this episode is brought to you by Owner Ops. Owner Ops is specifically a place online to help small local service businesses grow. You can visit and learn more, ownerops.com. That's OWNROPS.com. And we're going to wrap this episode up. So thank you guys for listening. Don't forget, work hard, do your best, never settle for less. We'll see you guys in the next episode.